Now, last thing I want to go over, one of the last things I want to go over, is that another thing about this Labour government in particular is how deeply in bed they seem to be with China and Chinese communists. And I'll play you this clip from Patrick Christie's in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to know what you think. Patrick Christie says Keir Starmer is either failing to prioritise our national security or the government is completely compromised by the Chinese communists over fresh news on a China spy scandal. It only gets worse. It started with Confucius Institutes in universities, as I spoke about with James Harvey. It only seems to get worse.
In June, that the government would not publish details about Beijing's espionage from the Foreign Office's own China audit. His decision came after the Treasury said that releasing information from the comprehensive analysis of China's influence in Britain could damage trade and investment links. The audit, promised in Labour's manifesto, became just 2 paragraphs in Powell's national security strategy. Wow. Huge news. This is the scandal that could bring down the Labour government. Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry were both accused of spying for China. They were arrested under the Official Secrets Act in March 2023. They were charged with espionage offences on the 22nd of April, weeks before Sir Keir Starmer becomes Prime Minister. They always denied the charges, and they continue to deny the charges. But then, on the 15th of September, the charges were dropped, apparently because Labour did not want to say that China was a national security threat. Sir Keir Starmer, who's conveniently jetted off to India, blamed the Tories.
You have to prosecute people on the basis of the circumstances at the time of the alleged offence. And so all the focus needs to be on the policy of the Tory government in place then. That's the only place that the evidence could be focused on.
So, a lot of interesting stuff here. What do we reckon, ladies and gentlemen? Would our government compromise our national security on behalf of China? Of course they would. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? They have everything to gain. Obviously, they want to be just like these people. They want to have the kind of infrastructure that China has. In fact, I want to play you this, ladies and gentlemen. It gets even more thing than this. Ironically, in a country that is blowing coal out of its chimneys like there's no tomorrow, Ed Miliband and other leaders have gone over to China to talk about net zero, of all things, really showing who seemingly one of our government's true paymasters are. As you know, all of the globalist politicians, all of the people pushing this globalist ideal want us to be just like China, right? The totalitarian system that they have, which is, it makes Orwell's 1984 blush, right? Why is our net zero minister going over a meeting with Grandfather Xi to talk net zero when his country is funneling out coal emissions, funneling out carbon emissions, if carbon is so bad, right? To a tune that anything that the entire UK was to save, China would undo probably not even in a day, in a matter of hours, right? Forget, why do we have to make all these concessions when we are so fucking small on the world stage, when literally one good wildfire in California, or again, the daily output of the plants in China are going to dwarf our quote-unquote contributions. But our politicians get the tax money all the same. How interesting is that?
Uses. And now more is emerging by the day. Sir Keir Starmer's national security advisor is that man called Jonathan Powell. And it turns out that he has held extensive meetings with Chinese communists personally, and involving an organisation that he founded called Intermediate. This was revealed on Guido Fawkes earlier today. Chancellor Rachel Reeves inexplicably went to China whilst our economy was crashing here. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband went to China, signed a secret Green Deal. We are not allowed to know what was in that deal. And the Chagos Islands surrender. We were told that it was all about international law. Who helped to make that law? Well, it was Zhu Hanqin, a former official for the Chinese Communist Party. Who stands to benefit most from this Chagos deal? It's China, because they basically use Mauritius as a proxy state. Now, let's just remind ourselves of all of those big hitters who say that Sir Keir Starmer isn't being entirely honest about this.
So the clip's down below, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to go and watch the full thing. It's about 5 minutes long. But look at, this is our, what's her name again? She's a Chancellor? Chancellor Rachel Reeves. Boss babe, smashing the glass ceiling, Rachel Reeves. Stood here to attention like a good little pawn. Like the good little pawn that she is. Very telling, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Very telling. But one person who it does seem that would not do us dirty in the same way, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas, you know, Chinese that are slowly taking everything over. Everything in this country is obviously made by China. We don't even make anything anymore, right? I have to check this microphone. Is this microphone made in China? Right, probably is. You know, by children in sweatshops and all the rest of it. About our national security is compromised, about likely foreign exchange students from China, CCP operatives that are going to be feeding back, you know, information via these Confucius Institutes and so on. If you enjoyed that clip, then make sure to go on over to the Voice of the Valleys X page at VOT_Valleys on X. We're also on Instagram at Voice of the Valleys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Godspeed.